Welcome to Algebra 1 with Mrs. Carroll. Before you begin, make sure you have your notebook and you pray. So here's a warm-up. I just want you to write this in scientific notation. Pause the video. Alright, there's my answer. It is 5.24 times 10 to the negative third power. Alrighty, our God moment. Whenever Aaron enters the holy place, he will bear the names of the sons of Israel over his heart on the breastplate of decision as a continuing memorial before the Lord. That's Exodus 28:29. In part 1, we talked about how God wrote out his math problems to his people in the Bible. It is amazing how he is willing to communicate with us. He tells Moses and Aaron to make a breastplate for making decisions. How? He told him how to put precious stones on this breastplate to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. He is then given a detailed description on how to attach this breastplate to himself. But why? It was made to remind Aaron when he went into the holies of holies of the 12 tribes. For he will always bear the meaning of me as a continuing memorial before the Lord. The children of Israel's names were written over his heart, just as Jesus remembers us always and has our names written on his heart. We see how much God loves us through the Holy Spirit and through his word, written out to interpret with his help of the Holy Spirit. Okay, so we're going to be talking about, it's part 2, we did in lesson 4, we did part 1, but now we're going to go into a little more detail about word problems. And we're going to determine key operation words, interpret parts of an expression such as terms, factors, coefficients, terms, and in context, analyze some real-world problems, and interpret the data. So some of our vocabulary that we need to know is that the word equivalent just means equal. The factor, any part of an equation or expression that is divisible by the rest of the expression. For example, 3x plus 9, where 3 is a factor of this expression. Square root is basically a number, is the value that when multiplied by itself, it gives the number. So for instance, 4 times 4 is 16, so the square root of 16 is 4. Note that we can also have negative 4 times negative 4 and get a positive 16 as well. Alright, so square root can always be, so the square root of 16 can always be 4 and negative 4. Okay, so on to this, let's talk about some word problems and how to break them up a little bit. Mark started a business cleaning cars. He charges $5 to make an appointment and an additional $15 per hour. We're going to write an expression to show how much it would cost after each amount of hours. So that's the first thing I want you to focus on, is the actual expression that we're going to write. So you have to decide, we're going to use a little bit of a formula. We're going to have an answer, and I'm just going to write it as, we're going to see this from this point on. It's called y equals mx plus b, where b is a point that doesn't move, okay, and x, and this m here is the coefficient of x, so that means it is moving. Alright, so he charges $5 just to make an appointment, an additional 15 hours per hour, okay, so h is hours. So we're going to make our h our x, okay? So what are we multiplying by the h? In other words, if I work 1 hour, what changes? If I work 2 hours, what changes? 3 hours, 4 hours, etc. So is my 5 or my 15 going to be multiplied by my h to change? Alright, so think of it this way. So think of it as the word per hour, and that's what we're looking for, is we're looking for what's called a rate. And how we find a rate is by looking for something that is changing, okay? So $15 per hour, so if I work 1 hour, I work $15. If I work 2, I get 30. So you kind of get the idea of which one is actually going to be the coefficient of my variable. So in this case, we're going to use h, okay? Okay, so we're going to put our 15 and we're going to multiply that by h. It's the same thing as saying times x. It's the coefficient of our variable. But we are going to find what our constant, okay? And our constant in this case is 5. So we're going to add 5 to that. So there's my expression. Now, when I tell you that if I worked 4 hours to clean a car, it must have been a very dirty car, I'm going to go 15 times 4 plus 5, okay? So solve that and then I'll give you the answer. So the answer for that is $65. Okay, so let's try another one. Lee has saved $350 this year. He continues to save $25 a month. Write an expression to tell how much money he has in his account after X amount of months. All right, so decide which one is going to be the coefficient of x. We're going to write it like this. And which one is going to be added to x to give, that is not going to change. All right, pause the video and see if you can figure it out. All right, the first thing I want to know is this is a month or per month. So that's going to be the 25. And there is my $350. Now it says how much will you spend after 5 months? That will replace the x. So we're going to do some evaluating as well. And there's my answer. He has saved up $475 if he waits 5 whole months and he can buy a nice bike. Alrighty, Montana's going to the country fair. The admission to the fair is $10 and she wants to pig out on corn dogs. Corn dogs are $3 each. Write an expression to represent how much money Montana will spend at the fair. Alright, so the first thing I want to know is which one of these. Remember my little formula here. I have some x. I'm going to add that to some number. All right, so what's changing? My two numbers here, I have a 3 and a 10. Both of them are going to go into this little equation. So now I have to figure out which one goes where. Pause the video and see if you can answer this. All right, so since this is $3 each, that's going to, so if I eat one corn dog, it's $3, 2 is 6, etc. On the other hand, my admission cost was only $10, and so that was a flat rate. So how much is she going to spend if she wants 3 hot corn dogs? That's not really picking out, is it? Cost would be $19. Alrighty, let's try another one. Hey, Montana's still going to the fair. She does do the admissions of $10. She pigs out on French fries the next day instead of corn dogs, and a cup of French fries is $2.50. I want you to write the entire expression, solve it if she wants 3 cups of French fries. That's more like bigging out, and how big those cups are. And tell me how much she totally spent. Pause the video. Alright, so we still have our x here, and we have this. Alright, we're putting our 10, and we're going to put our 2.5 here. And we're going to then replace the x with 3. My answer is going to be $17.50. Hopefully you got that. Okay. Tickets. Get your tickets here. To print tickets, a printer charges $70 to set up and $1.50 or $25 per ticket. Write an algebraic expression for the cost of T tickets. Remember, it's going to be like this. We're going to replace that T with the X with a T. I'm going to add something, and there we go. So these are my 2 numbers. Decide where they go, and then when you're done, do make sure that if I bought 650 tickets, what would my bill be? Pause the video. Alrighty, so first of all, I'm going to put my 125 here, my 70 here. If you didn't get this right, you might want to pause the video now and try your answer. Hopefully you're getting it. Alright, my answer is $882.50. Hopefully you got all of that. Alright, so groups. Several people form groups with 4 people in each group. Write an expression for the number of groups formed by P people. So the first thing I want you to do is, using those two numbers, or the letter and the number, what is my expression? Then I want you to turn around, and I'm telling you how many groups are formed if there are 28 people. So pause the video and see if you can get this. This one's a little bit harder. It doesn't fall into our normal. We actually do have some sort of a P going on here, but our plus is 0. We don't have any other numbers but that 4. So you have to figure out where that 4 is going. Pause the video. Alright, the 4 is actually being divided. You could have written 1 over 4 times P. Either one would have been fine, or as I said, P over 4. Putting the 28 in there, divided by 4, gives you 7 groups that has been formed. Alrighty, so let's take a look at this. I have a temperature change. It's cold outside. Brr. Okay, a temperature in your town is T degrees. The radio announcer says that the temperature will drop 15 degrees. I want you to write me an expression to compute the predicted temperature, and then what will be the temperature if the temperature outside is 31 degrees when the announcer says it. All right, pause the video and see if you can get this one. Alrighty, first thing is I do have my still set up. It is just T. It is minus 15 because it's dropping 15 degrees. I put my 31 minus 15 in there, and I got 16 degrees is what it will be. Okay. So, Sarah bought a pair of shoes that cost $40 and several pairs of socks at $5 each. Write an expression for the cost of Sarah's purchases. And then tell me how much she spent if she bought 3 pairs of socks. So pause the video. The first thing I do is I do have my little formula here. Okay, I have my two numbers, 40 and 5. My 5 is the one that's changing because it's per sock each. My $40 is a flat rate because that's what I spent on the shoes. I didn't buy more than one pair. I then replace the 3. So what is my amount? It is $55 because 3 times 5 is 15 plus 40. Alrighty, so let's take a look at this. A car loan requires equal payments of $304 per month. Write an expression of how much you will spend on the car, okay? So this is a little tricky because now on the bottom here, I'm asking you what is the total amount of the loan for 5 years. I want you to hear it, okay? I said 304 per month. And then I said 5 years. So watch that unit change for me. Set up an equation and see how well you do. Pause the video. Alright, the first thing is I do set up my little guy here. Okay, this is 0. There's only one amount that is a per. So that would be 304. Okay? 5 years. See if you can figure it out. Pause the video if you didn't get it. Alright, it is 5 years is 60 months, so I would have to change that to 60 in there, and I would spend $18,240. Alright, hopefully you got that and you didn't just do times 5. Otherwise, you got a really good deal. Alrighty, taxi anyone. A taxi service charges a flat rate of $1.50 to pick you up and an additional cost of 75 cents per mile. I need you to write me an expression with the same format that we've been doing, okay? And then tell me how much you spent if you went 12 miles. Pause the video. Alright, so the first thing I noticed, I have 2 prices, okay? This is per mile, so my 75 cents is going here. My 150 is a flat rate for just being picked up. Alright, I did write it a little bit neater here, and then I replaced the 12, so I got $10.50 is my total bill. Alrighty, percents. Now when we're writing a percent, we talked about this last time. 25% is 25 over 100. Hopefully this is a review for you. If I was to reduce that, I would get 1/4. Make sure you're always reducing. If I have a percent, I can write it over 25 over 100, or I can write it as a decimal of 0.25. So my answer is 25%, which equals 1/4, which also equals 0.25, okay? Just want to make sure you realize that. So Mrs. Keeney bought a shirt on sale for 20% off. You're going to write an expression on how much Keeney paid for the shirt with an original price of P. Now we've talked about this, okay? Original price minus 20% would be P minus 20% of 20, so that was obviously a P. So she basically spent 80% on the actual dress. So if the dress was $100 and she paid 80% of that, or 80, so I would take 0.8 times 100, I would get $80, okay? So that's kind of how that works. So let's try some. Allie has a coupon for 15% off the price of a coat. C, at a store, write an expression to find the sales price of the coat. Now these should be reviewed because we did them last time, but I'm pushing them a little bit more too. All right, so write down my equation and pause the video. All right, the answer is going to be, it's 0.85C. So if I spend $100 on this, I would multiply that by 0.85, and that would give me $85. In case you had some doubts. Alrighty, so let's try another one. Molly earned D dollars her first week of babysitting. She earned 10% more the next week. Write an expression to show how much money she earned the second week. Alright, so pause the video, see if you can think about what this would do. I'm earning 10% more on the second week, so pause the video. Alrighty, so I'm going to take D and I'm going to add it to a 0.1D, and I get 1.1D because it's 10% more. So in other words, if I made $100 on that first week, I would add 10% of that, by the way, which would be $10, and I would get $110. Okay, makes sense? So always think of it this way if you're doing these and you don't have any numbers involved. Alrighty, so what about a raise? You work hard and your boss finally noticed it. He gave you a 5% raise. If you make X amount of dollars, write an expression of how much you make now. Now, if you made $42,000, how much do you make after the raise per year? Pause the video. See if you can give me an expression for this first part. Finally gave you a raise of 5%, and then tell me how much you make now. Okay, so remember, we still have that, but this is a little bit different. We got two X's going on here, remember? So this is a little bit different from what we've seen in the past. We have 1, and then we have to add that 5%. So we get 1.05% X. And if you take that to the 42,000, you multiply that 1.05, and you get 44,100. Hopefully you're starting to get the percent ones. All right, let's try another one. You put money in a savings account that gives you an 8.8% interest. Write an expression of how much you will make if you put P amount in the account. Now, if you put 3,000 in the account, how much will you make, or how much will be in the account, say in a year from now, okay? The good news is this is just inconsequential, okay? So just do it like you normally would. All right, pause the video and see if you can answer this one. All right, remember we have two X's, or in this case, we have two P's, okay? Remember, I have one P and we have another P. All right, this would be 1, which would be the amount that I put in. This one's going to be 0.088, because remember, you're moving this over 2 decimal places, okay? And basically, that gives you 1.088 P substitute it and tell me how much you're making. My total would be $3,264, and there's all of my work. Okay, math test. A student missed 15 on a math test that has X amount of problems. Write my expression, and then if the test had 20 problems, how many did he get correct? Pause the video. Okay, remember we're dealing with two of these, so I would have to do this, okay? So this is a little bit different. In this case, though, since it is how much I missed and how much I get, I'm going to actually subtract them, not add them. So there's the difference there. I want to make sure we understand that. I have the 1, and then I have the 15.15. All right, which basically gives me 0.85x, okay? And then I just put that 20 in there, and I substitute it, and I get 17 questions. Good job. I used T here just because it's test. Could have used any other letter. Alrighty, sales tax. Sally bought bushes for her front yard with a 6.5% sales tax. Write an expression on how much she paid, and if the bushes cost $62.21, how much was her bill? Pause the video. Hopefully you're getting this. Alrighty, so this time I used the letter B because of bushes. Just something I did. You can use any letter. I have 1, and then it is an increase because sales tax is added on to the amount. So my total would be 1.065 times the total, which is B, of my bushes. And I substitute that in for the 62.21, and I get 66.25. Hopefully you got that. Your homework is Unit 1, Assignment 6. And you may have to do a project or a checkpoint test, so check with your teacher. Here is your exit ticket. In a survey of 300 adults, 15% did not know how to ride a bike. How many people can ride a bike? Got it? So see if you can get this. Pause the video. Alright, the answer is 255 adults. So 15% we would take our, so this is a bike, I'm going to use B. Alright, minus that, because it's how many did not know, was 15%. Okay. And this case, then I have, well, that means 85% of them could ride a bike. So we would turn around and take that 300, multiply it by the 0.85, and don't cut any adults in half if you get a fraction or a decimal. All right, you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.